Hi, I'm Rick Kaler. Thanks for joining me. Well, I'm not sure if there's an Occupy Windhoek movement, but if there isn't, there certainly should be. Windhoek is the capital of Namibia. Now, Namibia has a Gini index rating of 70.7, giving it the largest gap in the world between its wealthiest 1% and the rest of its citizens. The Gini index is a measure of statistical dispersion. So a value of 0 represents absolute income equality, while 100 indicates absolute inequality, such as one person having all the income. Based on the Occupy Wall Street folks, one would expect the U.S. to be pretty close behind Namibia in income inequality. This is taken directly from the Occupy website, and I quote, "We are getting nothing, while the other 1% is getting everything. We are the 99%, end quote. Well, according to the CIA's World Factbook 2011, the U.S. Gini Index is nowhere near 70. In fact, it's 45, exactly what it was in 1929. That puts us slightly above the global median, which is 41. We're not in the 30 worst countries for income inequality, but neither are we in the 30 best countries for income equality. Sweden leads that group with a 23 reading. In fact, 6 of the top 10 countries with the least income inequality are in Scandinavia and Eastern Europe, which we know have very, very heavy taxes. More about that later. What's interesting to note is the most economically free economy, Hong Kong, has an index of 53.3, and Singapore, the second most free economy, is 48.1. It makes intuitive sense that the high-tax, big government Scandinavian countries have more income equality than the more capitalistic countries like Hong Kong, Singapore, and the U.S. Still, having a free economy and a lower income inequality ranking is not mutually exclusive. It's not unobtainable. Australia, New Zealand, Switzerland, Canada, Ireland, and Denmark all have economies that are rated more free than ours and have better income inequality index ratings. Worldwide, it's true that the top 1% own a disproportionate share of the wealth, just as they do here in the United States. 1% of the world's population own 40% of the global assets. The richest 10% own 85% of the global assets. The lowest 50% of the population own less than 1%. Now, this is hardly a 99% versus 1% division marked by an arbitrary line. Instead, income comparisons are a scale. Those whose income level puts them at, say, the 92 percentile are hardly in the same boat as those at 4 or 5%. So to say that the 1% have everything and the 99% have nothing, it might be true in Namibia. It is not true in the United States of America. In fact, recently I heard Susie Orman say that the United States no longer has a middle class. You are either rich or you are poor. I'm sorry, the statistics and just a casual observation of our society would tell anybody that that is not the case. What is the real motivating factor then behind the erroneous OWS claims that we're getting nothing while the other 1% is getting everything? Well, certainly there's anger and fear. There is a perception that the economy is out of control and that a wealthy Wall Street elite are to blame for everything. But I would suggest to you that envy is probably a factor as well. Research shows that the more we envy somebody, the greater our pleasure at his or her downfall. But is it a surprise or inherently wrong that the upper percentiles of income earners receive a disproportionate share of the wealth? It would seem reasonable that someone who maybe working harder and risking more and making timely and smart decisions and has a little bit of luck is going to make and acquire more than someone who doesn't. What is ironic is that the success of the top earners does not take anything away from those who earn less. In the U.S., the top 1% pay the highest percentage of taxes on their earned income, thus contributing heavily to our capitalistic system. Here's an interesting bit. If you have individual income of over $34,000 a year, congratulations. You are in the world's top 1% and among the globally rich. Envy of the rich is ubiquitous and universal. It also can be motivating. Contrary to the common perception, 85% of the top 2% didn't inherit their wealth, but are first-generation millionaires or billionaires. People need to take a look at these facts and understand that perhaps envy didn't drive them to tear down what others had achieved. Instead, it motivated them to build their own success. Thanks for listening.